Coming this fall from SJS Direct in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. You can pre-order your copy of The Man Crisis today on Amazon.com. As I was watching the testimony of Christine Blasey Ford at the library, and then later on watching the testimony of Brett Kavanuagh at home, I began to realize that the Me2 movement had gone too far. Now, when it comes down to these feminists, women, and SJWs, they believe they have the leverage in this situation because they got that conviction against Bill Cosby a couple of months ago, and as they gloated over the sentencing of Bill Cosby for that trumped up sexual assault, we have these feminist women and SJWs believing that they can get another victory by preventing Brett Kavanaugh from being confirmed to the Supreme Court. Because what these women are trying to do with both Bill Cosby and Brett Kavanaugh is change the laws of these lands from being a standard of due process under the law and innocent until proven guilty to the standard of trust and belief, because that will be the interpretation of the law if they are able to get Brett Kavanaugh not confirmed to the Supreme Court, because that will be the unwritten law of the United States if Brett Kavanaugh is not confirmed. Because what will happen is, instead of us being under the standard of innocent until proven guilty and due process under the law, what will happen is everything will be under the standard of trust and belief. Because what these feminist SJWs and even some of these liberals are trying to do with both Bill Cosby and Brett Kavanaugh is grab gynocentric power here in America. And that's the ultimate plan regarding Bill Cosby, because when many of these white supremacists colluded with these feminists to destroy Bill Cosby, they thought they could control these feminists. However, what happened is that after Roger Ailes gave Gretchen Carlson that $20 million, the Me2 movement changed into a gynocentric Godzilla, and this gynocentric Godzilla sought to grab political power. And we saw this with the resignation of Al Franken over some 10-year-old allegations, and we also saw it with the removal of Eric Schneiderman as the Attorney General here in New York. And what these women want to do, is change the laws of the United States, again, from a standard of innocent until proven guilty and due process to a standard of trust and belief. And the standard of trust and belief is the standard of gynocentrists. And what they want to do is grab that political power and impose gynocentric Jim Crow on men. And that standard, again, is the standard of trust and belief. And under the standard of trust and belief and gynocentric Jim Crow, a man, regardless of his race, would be a second-class citizen in these United States. And as a second-class citizen, he would have no rights a woman would need to regard. And with no rights a woman would need to regard, all a woman would have to do under the standard of gynocentric Jim Crow and the interpretation of the law under gynocentric Jim Crow is go out here, make an allegation against a man, and have that, and on that allegation, that man would be charged and tried and convicted in the court of public opinion before he got to a court of law. And on that conviction, that man could lose his career, his reputation, and his freedom, all based on the word of a woman. And that's a scary thing for white men to experience, because black men experience that and continue to experience that to this day. But what these feminists want to do is extend that standard to white men. And that's when these females will have actually bitten off more than they could chew, because that's when white men all across the country are going to start realizing that this feminist is finally started to smell herself. She believes that she is better than the men who elevated her, and she's biting the hand that feeds her. And that's where the Me Too movement is taking the country right now. And that's where they're taking women in America right now. And that's what's leading to this being a very perilous situation for many American women. And many American women on the sidelines see where the Me Too movement is taking the country. And that's why we saw Kathie Lee Gifford about a year ago trying to say something about her son and things, because she saw where the Me Too movement was going in making these allegations. And it was like a warning to these women: back off, because you're going too far. Because where these women believe this situation is going is that they have the leverage, and they believe that if they can take down Brett Kavanaugh, they will be able to take complete power over the United States of America, because with the standard of law being trust and believe, they will have the power. But what they don't understand that is, under the standard of trust and believe, what's going to happen this time is they are creating a situation where men will realize they have nothing to lose. Because if a man can wind up being arrested, tried, and convicted solely on the word of a female who is smaller and weaker than he is, then that man is going to realize that he has nothing to lose in American society, because he is not going to be terrorized by just the word of a female, and no law enforcement apparatus is going to be able to support these females if they have this kind of power, because those beta males in law enforcement are going to finally start realizing that the same standard of trust and belief that was used to destroy these high-powered rich men can also be used to destroy their lives if they disagree with these females. So all of these males are going to realize that under the standard of trust and believe, they have nothing to lose, because they have no incentive to continue participating in society. As long as males have something to lose, they have an incentive to continue supporting women, because women primarily get their needs met by men, they get their resources from men, and when you tell the men that they have no value, when you tell the men they are second-class citizens in a country that they built, and that they have no rights a woman needs to regard, what happens is you create a situation where men have nothing to lose, and when men have nothing to lose, they have no reason to support women. And we're starting to see side effects of this Me Too movement in the job market, where we're seeing companies where men are no longer mentoring women, and some companies aren't even hiring women because women have made themselves liabilities because of this Me Too movement. This is the impact of this Me Too movement in the short term, but if this standard becomes the law of the land in the United States, we're going to start to see even bigger and deeper consequences in the long term. And many of these feminists, they just can't connect dots, because women are emotional and all they think of is the short term. And they're thinking, because they got Bill Cosby convicted and sentenced and got a group of executives to resign their positions, that they have the short-term leverage in the situation and can dictate the long term. But what they don't understand is that they are getting ready to really put the nail in the coffin for the feminist movement, because the only reason why those men of the greatest generation in the 60s gave concessions to women in the late 60s and 70s was because they wanted to continue having relationships with women. And with these women now trying to dictate the terms of those relationships, men no longer have incentive to continue giving concessions to a woman who believes that she is better than he is, superior to him, and believes that she can be so powerful that she can literally emasculate him. And this is where men will say, hey, I have nothing to lose because I'm bringing all of this to the table. I'm bringing resources. I'm giving you more and more, but you still keep playing this victim position and asking for more and continuing to push and push and push. And men in America are starting to realize they are at the back of the wall. And when you push a man to the back of the wall, that's when his primal instincts kick in and he starts showing women that he's 8 times bigger and stronger than she is, and with nothing to lose. That's not going to be a pretty picture for women in America, because when I look at this situation with gynocentrism here in America, it's reaching the boiling point. And when I look at the whole Brett Kavanaugh situation, we are at a crossroads here in America. And many of these American women, they believe they have the upper hand in a situation. But when I look at the whole bigger picture of male-female relations here in America, they don't have an upper hand. They've overplayed their hand. And as they overplay their hand, they're going to realize that if you give a man nothing to lose, you are going to lose everything, because with him being bigger and stronger and having nothing to lose, he's going to destroy not only his own community to get back at you, he's going to take away everything he gave you as he destroys everything, and everything starts to reset itself. And that's how your feminist is overplaying her hand, because she's trying to risk everything in the hopes of getting more, not understanding she's about to lose everything as she tries to play this gambit to take power over the United States, not understanding that in her quest to take power away from men, what's going to happen at the end of the day is men are just going to start making plans to take women's rights away. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct Men's Issues books, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.